Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Bryan. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from that Chuck Scholl guy. The band is called Anomia. The album, ESM. They're from Massachusetts. I'm going to leave that in. They're from Massachusetts. Album is from 2009. Mix of groove, deathcore, and a couple other genres. So we're definitely in store for something very metallic. They're not on Spotify. I was given a YouTube link, but I found them on Bandcamp too, and I figured I'd go for the higher quality on that. So that's what we're going to check out. We're looking at the track Color Wheel. Let's dive in. See what Anomia is bringing to the table today. Definitely all over the place. Yeah. Here's some of that deathcore stuff, focusing on low tones, lots of vocal styles, just chugging along. Interesting rhythms in here. Yeah, so that's still 4/4. They're just playing around with wild phrasings. Yeah, that's the same idea without the low note chugging between each of the accents. Well, the chugging is hand. That's how they're doing it. Tempo shift, right? Also 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. They shifted to at least a 3 pulse. I would still count it 4 1 2 3 4 1 2. Lots of vocal dexterity though. Dang, I was getting into that. Oh, there's like a... Was there a retardando snuck in there? Yeah, lots of time field manipulation. Odd phrasing again. They definitely went to the school of early Between the Buried and Me. A little bit of number 12 looks like you in there. It's crazy, chaotic, disjointed, everything from sweeping melodies to heavy, disgusting breakdowns. The only thing missing from there are clean vocals at all, which, now that I say Between the Buried and Me and number 12, that actually makes sense. There's a lot of these progressive metalcore slash deathcore bands that I think stuck with primarily harsh vocals. Around the same time, too. Was this 2009? Is that what they said? Yeah. Alright. I think first I want to just touch on the very interesting rhythmic shifts in here. They're the thing that I think stands out the most and are the most consistent throughout the song. Whether we're changing time signatures from a 4 to possibly a 3, or we are altering time feels like we did frequently at the end, keeping the tempo and time signature the same, but shifting from a series of quarter notes to triplets to dotted quarter notes, just in order to change the way that the song feels, the speed that it feels like we're at. These could also be achieved with a plethora of tempo shifts, but those tend to be more difficult to read from a sheet music perspective. I don't know if they used any sheet music here. I just kind of have the assumption most metal related bands don't use sheet music. But if I were to transpose this, I would definitely use, if it fit, shifting note lengths rather than shifting tempos. And that's why I call it time feel, because the time itself is technically not changing. Same tempo, same time signature throughout. And they do this all throughout the song, though, in order to create this constant fluctuation of feel. It's very difficult to move your body consistently to this song because you never really know what's going to show up 10 seconds from now, 20 seconds from now. There's just always some sort of rhythmic shift going on. I find that to be very distracting, but I know that a lot of bands around this time were all trying to be the most disruptive, I think, having a contest of who can write the most jarring changes. Not even just the most disruptive changes, but the highest number of disruptive changes within a song. I don't know if that's accurate. I don't know if any of these bands were ever, I don't know, MySpace DMing each other. Hey, we just made a song with 13 changes in it. You want to top that? I don't think that's what was happening. But it feels like there's just a lot of bands around this time that were just really trying to make disjointed music, as disjointed as they could. And this definitely follows in the path that those bands set. And so it is not my cup of tea, but I get it, And as usual, whether there's an audience for it or not, and there is in this case, but whether there is or not, that doesn't need, you don't need that to justify the creation of art. If a lot of people want to make a bunch of stuff like this and no one cares for it, let them make it. More art, the merrier. Like I said, though, it isn't my cup of tea. Some of the changes are kind of neat. I do like the temporal switch-ups there at the end. I thought that was kind of cool. But jumping between more melodic phrases to more textural phrases to breakdowns to just gnarly noise, it's interesting. It's definitely dynamic. I prefer a little bit more consistency in my music, but I do think it's pretty cool that they can jam pack so many ideas within a song and probably have other tracks on the album that are just as varied. And it's kind of mind boggling to think that these bands were putting albums together with hundreds of ideas, where more traditional, death metal bands or even hardcore bands on either side of the thing, even I'd say more traditional deathcore bands, were using, a fraction of that. These guys would put as many riffs in a song as another band would put in an album. So it is impressive just from that level that it continues to be consistently interesting. I think after you put 150 riffs on an album, some of them are going to be duds, and it just kind of blows my mind that some of these bands don't run into that problem, and it doesn't seem like Anomia ran into it, at least based off of this track alone. The other thing that stands out to me, though, is the dexterity of all of this. I called out the vocals in the reaction itself, and I think that's pretty apparent. There's pig squeals in here, there's lows, there's fry screams, growls, false chord. There's all sorts of different noises that the vocalist is making in here. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. We want to get subjective for a second. Some of them are palatable to me. Most are not. Deathcore is not my genre, if you haven't picked up on that yet. But as usual, it's the dexterity of it. It's the contrast and dynamics. If there's something I don't like, all I got to do is wait a second. There's going to be something else around the corner. I may enjoy that a little more. And just the sheer technical display also. I mean, to think that somebody has all of these voices lined up and can control their muscles to pull them off when they need them for the small spurt that they need them before shifting their muscles to do another sound, it is wildly impressive. And I want to throw that same level of appreciation towards pretty much everything else in here. The bass is frequently all over the place. I don't know what they're doing half the time. Some of it honestly just sounds like straight up noise to me, but it's bass work, which is pretty cool. You just don't get to hear that too often. But there's also some impressive passages. We go to the guitars and we go to like, hey, let's play one note and just create a sound, a rhythm out of it. Dun 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 dun. And like, okay, that's pretty simple. I can do that. I'm not a guitarist. But then they also kicked off the song with some sweep picking. There was a little guitar melody, a little solo there in the middle that I wish had gone on a little longer. It got disrupted. And that's just how they make music. I've already gone over that bit. But, I mean, it's all over the place. There's the squealy stuff where you play a low note and then you play like, I don't know, a harmonic on like a half-step interval between two strings, and you get this really squealy dissonant sound. And that, I mean, that's like a staple of the genre. They threw that in there. There's a straight up breakdown in here with some gnarly vocals on top of it. I mean, the guitars are doing everything that would need to be done in deathcore, whether it is more of the death metal riffage or soloing, or it's more of the hardcore texture-based stuff. They got all of it. I kind of wish we had seen more of the melodic side, but at least on this track, they focused a bit more on the texture and rhythmic stuff. It's still impressive, and once again, going back to the rhythmic topic, it's very cool to see them put so many different rhythms in here and kind of jump between all of them. From a technical standpoint and a performance standpoint, it's very impressive. So I do like all of that, and the drummer, dude, is just a beast. This drummer, just like everyone else, is kind of across the board. Now, granted, I think the drums are a bit more narrow in display here. There are still some interesting ideas, but for the most part, we get a lot of straightforward, aggressive drum work. And we don't really get to see any of the technicality. Sort of like how the guitars have chances to shine on melody, we don't really have any melodic drum bits in here that allow the drummer to shine in that direction. A lot of it is more of that metronomic style of sitting within rigid patterns for a lot of time. But we did get to hear some cool ideas. There was that point, I think around 1.5 minutes in, where there was a neat little syncopated ride cymbal, actually the bell of the ride cymbal, that was giving us a syncopated idea against the snare accents. So they do get to sneak in some flourish now and then. But for the most part, a lot of it was more on the straightforward, just make aggressive noise and keep in time side of things. And much like I would have liked to see more melody on the guitars, I wouldn't mind seeing a chance, a little glimpse of what the drummer's capable of on an upcoming track. As usual, I don't like to hold too much against this. In most bands' case, there's multiple albums to look at, and so maybe this album doesn't focus so much on drums and another would, but I think this is, yeah, they only have 2 albums out and a single, which might even have been on, no, so an LP, an EP, and a single is, it looks like, is all they ever made. So let me just, hopefully another track explores some stuff like that, but I don't like to say this band doesn't do this, because I've heard 3 minutes of their work. Who am I to say what they do and what they don't do? All I can say is that Like I said, I would like a little bit more melodic work, and maybe another song focuses on that where this track didn't. But maybe it didn't either. Maybe this is very indicative of their style. The last thing I want to touch on, I think, is just general structure. Is there any structure to this? We shift around between a lot of different ideas, right? And I was trying to keep track of them, and at a point I failed. I think I got up to like section F or section G, and I was like, I don't know anymore. I forgot what letter I was on. There's a lot of sections in here, though. And I was kind of hoping that somewhere in here I would hear something and be like, oh, that's that from earlier, but no, I don't think we ever repeated a section completely. There might have been a guitar lick that showed up later at a point. I kind of remember that at the end of the song, kind of bringing something back from earlier, but again, it's bringing one thing to the end, more so than bringing an entire idea back. I don't think there's a chorus in here, is what I'm getting at. I don't think there's anything that we could call a verse or a bridge. I think it's just a fully linear track, which checks out with the kind of music and what I think their inspirations were. A lot of this stuff kind of goes in that direction. So it's wildly expressive. There's a lot of ideas in here. Most of the band got to show off a wide variety of chops, and it is very energetic. If you like deathcore, progressive deathcore, yeah, you're probably going to enjoy this album. It's a bit much for me, though, but with any luck, maybe somebody in the community will find a new band that they enjoy. Let me hit some lyrics, and then we're going to wrap this one up. I couldn't find any lyrics, which doesn't surprise me. Some of these smaller bands, pretty much impossible to find unless they have a website or they put it on their Bandcamp or something, which they didn't do that. Sometimes I would go back and listen and just focus on the vocals and try to pick up some key ideas, but I'm going to tell you, there's no way I'm understanding a single word out of this. So, unfortunately, we're just going to have to end it there. These are my thoughts on Anomia's Color Wheel. Let me know what you thought of this track, if there's anything that stood out to you, if there's anything you'd like to add on to what I said. Maybe you just want to tell me that you found your new favorite band. I'm cool with any of that. Also, if you have your own interpretation of the song or anything that's going on in there, please put that down in the comment section as well. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you here. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I'll be sure to put their Bandcamp in the description as well if you're looking to explore more of their music. They have a Facebook. I guess I can link that too. But being that they have disbanded for over a decade, I don't know if they still check their Facebook or if that link is even accurate. That link could go nowhere. But that way you guys can, find more of their music if you want. All right, that wraps it up for this one. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.